Hey, everybody, Blasted Stash episode 168. Joe's got beers he's willing to share. What are you drinking tonight, Joe? What is that?
This is a local brewery called Legend Brewery. It's about 20 miles from me.
What are you drinking tonight, Joe? What is that?
This is a local brewery called Legend Brewery. Now I got volume running twice. I'm sorry. So Legend's a local craft brewery here in the local area. They make a very nice Irish red winter ale, and that's what I will be enjoying tonight.
Very good, very nice. So it's the first time watching this. What we do is we pick up the books that come out each week. We give them a read, and we talk about them, and we blast them or we stash them. Blast is the book we hate. Stash is the book we love. We'll cherish and love and pet and call it George and put it in a long box. And Discovery Bay has jumped in here just talking about Discovery Bay. He was one of our winners from our Patreon last month. Patreon book was when we find a picture of it, there it is right there, the Black Cat #1 Greg Horn cover. So if you're interested in supporting us through Patreon, you can go over there. For $1 a month, you'll get entry into the Book of the Month Club. So thanks for supporting us there at Discovery Bay. We'll jump into the books this week, and Joe, get started on a book. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like.
Man, it's always hard right there at the beginning to determine. I've been traveling all weekend long, but I will bring up something kind of weird, and I kind of want you all to kind of discuss this in the chat room more specifically. So, are comic books today more scripts, or are they comic books when it comes to independent comic books? I bring this up because of Space Bandits, and this is the last of this particular arch right here. Will it continue on? We don't know yet, but this is Space Bandits #5. I went with this weird one. I don't know what's going on with that lady right there. That's just awkward. But so this finally ends up where the women finally find out that the guy kind of screwed them over, and the bad guys coming to destroy everybody. They kill everybody and X them off, and they do it in a very criminal way. They feel bad at the end, so they make right for a lot of the injustices that they've done along their little revenge journey. Now, I know this sounds like one of them comic books where it's kind of crapping all over men, right? Let's just go ahead and say it. But it's not. This is a legit good comic book. But at the end, we get the most weirdest tie-in I've ever seen, and that's with Sharky the Bounty Hunter. Now, if you've seen me review comic books, you know that I enjoyed Sharky the Bounty Hunter. I thought it was good. I had no way of knowing that they were going to be connected. So why would they connect is the question. Well, Netflix has picked them both up as shows, and that was before they even finished the series. They've picked both of these up. So on Netflix, are they going to connect there? Are we creating a new universe of sci-fi comic books to kind of launch out there? And how good is that going to be? I don't know. I do know that I enjoyed both of these comic books, but I was not expecting them to be tie-ins together. So I liked the comic book. I'm kind of excited to see what happens on the show, but I don't know if I like this tie-in thing. Are we writing comic books for scripts now? Like it all read like a pitch now that I think about it. So I'm not sure. I'm still on the fence on it. I guess we're just going to have to see what happens. If so and it works, so be it. But should it be that way? Does that make sense? Like, are we helping the comic book community here? Or is every writer out there just crossing their fingers that the next thing they write gets a Golden Globe? I don't know. Where are you guys at on this?
Discovery Bay says indie comics are written to looking to be optioned. That's his opinion on that too. And I kind of think the same thing because Netflix signed a deal with Mark Millar for any of his content essentially to come up to be part of this Netflix universe, you know?
Right. So unfortunately, in this case, if you ask me if I was going to blast or stash it, well, I would have stashed it once for the story. The story was good enough for me, but now that it's a show, I guess that's a double stash for me because you know me. If you give me the right amount of money, I'll sell you just about anything. I'll sell you the shirt right off my back. So I don't know. Are we discrediting the comic book community in this? Should we be holding on to this? Should we be speculating on comic books? I know that's a very touchy subject, but we hope that this is a place where people can talk about it and enjoy the conversation instead of being an argument. So please pontificate in the chat below.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up too. I mean, it's been kind of talked about the past year, maybe a little longer. So I'm listening to an audiobook history of Marvel Comics. It talks about Marvel Comics from its inception up to probably the late 90s. And Stan Lee was constantly trying to work these characters into movies and TV shows, even in as the early 70s or maybe even 60s. And so it's always been a kind of thing to where I think they're moving into the movies and TV. Just like people didn't expect Unbreakable and Split to cross over each other, Joey. That's what Double S says.
I totally, I agree. But I think in this particular scenario, and I'm just talking about these two comic books for right now, because right now, if we were to look at it, we look at Crisis on the CW, what they're doing on CW, like they're not following the comic book. They kind of took the concept of Crisis and they kind of did their own take on it.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, with these two brand new shows that are about to happen, would it be too soon for a crossover? Shouldn't that be like a second season thing? Like, why would that be happening so soon?
Well, maybe Sharky's first season and then Space Bandits first season, go through also at the end of Space Bandits, just like it did in the comic book. Sharky did first, right?
Yeah, Sharky ended first, and then Space Bandits just ended this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's interesting. And I'll buy it. And if this is the way the comic book industry goes, I mean, I'm not arguing for or against it because I don't know. I'm too old and I got way too much on my mind to pontificate upon it too much. I'm still trying to figure out if people are telling me the truth when I discuss things with people.
So if you're looking at comic book speculation, so which you think adds more value? That the book is written specifically for a TV show, or the book is written and then picked up for a TV show? Do you think there's any difference in all of that?
No,
for speculation purposes.
I think ultimately, because again, I go back to the CW. I'm going to use that as my example. If they talked about the Crisis that they're throwing in there right now, right? Mm-hmm. It has nothing. Well, it's loosely, like extremely loosely based. I think Legends is what's going to kind of bring all of it together to make it seem more comic booky. But right now, if they talk about the Crisis in there and the Anti-Monitor, but nothing that's going on was really written in the comic book realm. If I keep thinking if that was today and I was looking at it and it was because the Crisis came out, I think I would be a little mad because they're two totally different things. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would it adds to value in any way. Now, mind you, I'm a guy, I do sell comic books. Like everybody knows it. I go on eBay. I have my own auction site. I've been on live auctions. So I have no problems with somebody hustling and making a little extra money on the side of comic books, as long as you're not ridiculous. But are comic books more script written today for a television show? Because this seems more like pitch material than it does a comic book. And now that I go back and I think about it and I actually go back and look at some of the issues, it looks like something you would pitch for versus an actual comic book, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what storyboards, isn't it just a comic book essentially? Mm-hmm. That people are doing that, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go into my first book for the night. It's by Alterna Comics. Like I've said it before, one thing's great about Alterna is it's $1.50. I'm not spending a whole lot of money for a book that's crap, you know. So that's one thing I really love about Alterna. So I picked up Void Walker. This is 1 and 4. Now, if you look at that cover, you automatically think, God, why am I drawing a blank? Keanu Reeves' character. Where he plays that assassin. Do you know, Joe? Do you know what it is?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Keanu Reeves' character, he plays this John Wick.
John Wick.
Yeah, kind of looks like John Wick if you look at the cover. So essentially what this book is a combination for me, I think, of John Wick and Spawn or Venom. So what this guy is, he's getting revenge against the mob family that he used to be part of. He's going and he's wiping people out. He's blowing jaws off with a shotgun. He's killing everybody. He's going in like there's a chunk there of a jaw flying off with a whole bunch of teeth. He's going in just decimating these people. And he's going to get the suitcase of money. And he takes the suitcase of money from his mob, used to be almost like a father figure to him. But he's stupid enough to try and turn his back on the guy and to go to walk away. Well, the guy gets shot in the back. He falls to hell. And then he's get approached by this giant demon saying, join with me or this horde's going to get you, essentially. And so he thinks he's dreaming, but he finally gives in and joins with this monster demon thing. And he comes back to life as a, let's see, they have a good picture of him here. As a Spawn-esque kind of character.
So they went from John Wick to Spawn?
Kind of. If you look at Spawn, he was a military guy who got killed and sent to hell and became back as. So it's kind of the same thing, where he has this very Venom-like body, where this demon's kind of like his suit that he wears, but he's come back to get revenge.
Oh,
like I said, John Wick meets Spawn.
Do you like it? Is the question.
It's it's okay for $1.50. I said I'm not out any money. It's nothing. I don't think super original. It's taken two pretty good stories. John Wick's great. That's a great audience. Spawn or Venom has a great audience. Why not mesh those two together? Again, for $1.50, you're not out any money, and it's a decent book. You'll pay $6 for the whole series versus paying $16, to Marvel.
Yeah,
so it's definitely worth it, I think.
And that's by Alterna
Comics. Yeah.
Did they still use the? And I'm not talking bad about them. I understand that it's very expensive to put a comic book out, so I'm not talking trash.
They use the
lesser quality paper.
Yeah. Yep.
The faded coloring.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you look back to the older, Marvel, DC comics, where pages start turning yellow after so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be the same way, and they pride themselves on that too.
They're just good comics.
For $1.50. I know the owner of Alterna Comics has a YouTube channel. He gets on there and talks once in a while. He got a whole bunch of crap, fairly recently, 6 months ago. But dude, for $1.50, you can't go wrong.
Put out some content. Nothing wrong with that.
Nope, we got Caffeinated Comic Books in there, which he just moved. He just moved from West Coast to Central. I think he said he moved to Texas or something.
Texas. He knows that there's an East Coast, right? Like, if you're going to go that far, you might as well just finish the trip.
So, yeah, he just moved from, I think it was from California over there. So, hope the move went well, Caffeinated. And I guess we'll jump into your next book, Joe. What are we going to talk about?
All right. So I pride myself on being somewhat savvy in the business world. I really do. And, I don't fall for most of your common gimmicks in the comic book industry. I tried to avoid them, but I'm a sucker at the end of the day if I see something that's slightly interesting. And I did. So my next book is, that's right, Harley Quinn. And the only reason why I bought this, I stopped buying Harley Quinn a while ago when she was not as interesting to me. And I bought it strictly because they had this really cool, the acetone type of cover going on there. Right? I fell for it. There it is. I'm a sucker for it. And I really am a sucker because this is a garbage story. So garbage. Oh my God. So yeah, it's a blast. So basically, I'm going to break this down for you. What happens when your mother dies and she was the patriarch of the family, and when she dies, everybody just kind of falls apart a little bit, and then all of a sudden you want to jump in as the black sheep of the family that went away for a while and comes and goes as they please. You randomly show up and start making demands from everybody, and nobody's really following along with you. Like, everybody's kind of blowing you off. You get upset, you get mad about it, and you do the little curly hue hair flies up, and then you take off and you want to go do something else instead of resolving the issues of being a member of the family. Well, that's pretty much what you got in this comic book, only they justified it, and they were wrong for doing it. So, yeah, this is a garbage story. Harley Quinn goes back home shortly after her mother's died. Dad's still coping with the death, and she's harping on this old man about having a Thanksgiving dinner. Like, it's the last thing on this guy's mind. And the two sons don't want to hear this shit either. Sorry. They don't want to hear this
S-word. Oh, no.
They don't want to hear this garbage either because their mother just died.
Yeah.
And she's all upset because she wants to be the new person that wants everybody to have Thanksgiving dinner. So what happens? She's Thanksgiving dinner alone, and rightfully so, because she was never really there for her family to begin with. So instead of trying to cope and deal with people at their level, she jumps on a bus and she's going to go have a good time for Christmas someplace else. That part I don't agree with. But there's two things I really believe. One, charity is boundless. Always give to charity. Two, if somebody in your family is having problems and they don't want to listen to you, the last thing you do is leave them. You always stand by your family. I will put a body in a swamp for my family members. So I didn't agree with that either. So hopefully there's a lesson to be learned in this. The truth is, I'm not going to learn it because I'm not picking up the next issues because I should have never picked this up to begin with. I fell for a gimmick. I'm a sucker too, just like everybody else. So yeah, I'm going to eat that, and this is going to go to an auction because I don't need it.
I almost picked up the cover behind that because it was a Frank Cho Thanksgiving cover.
I wish you got that one.
So close that, I didn't do it though. Let's talk about where is it? There it is. Spider-Man and Venom Double Trouble, #1, by Tamaki. This book it's rated T for teen, which shocked me because it's more of an all ages kind of book because the art in there is very cartoony. See, there's the art right there. So in this story, Venom and Spider-Man are roommates. They share an apartment together. It's very Oscar and Felix kind of thing, where Spider-Man is more of the clean one that makes meals, and Venom's more the rude one. His room smells. He never pays the rent. Peter Parker made a whole bowl of noodles, and Venom ate them all. So it just talked about that. There's a great little scene though with Venom and the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin's going to attack him, and Venom just takes him down and says the typical things like that Spider-Man used to say, you green chump, and stuff like that. Spider-Man gets a visit from, I think is it Spider-Gwen, and is saying, hey, I'm here about your roommate. He keeps throwing garbage out the window and it's landed in my garden. And so Venom's just this horrible roommate. Essentially, that's what this whole book's about. But unbeknownst to Spider-Man, he's been creating this machine in his room, and Spider-Man goes to sleep, and he ends up taking Spider-Man's body out, switches bodies with him essentially, so he can go out and be Spider-Man and cause problems and make people think it was Spider-Man that did it when it's actually Venom inside of Spider-Man's body. This was a fun book. Will I pick up another one? No, I won't. This is something that I would probably give to my daughter to read if she likes Spider-Man. She's 11, and she'd probably dig that quite a bit. But I'm shocked it's not an all-ages book. This almost seemed like, IDW does those Marvel books too, the all-ages Marvel books.
The Marvel action,
yeah. So it's very much along those lines. It was a fun book, like that Oscar and Felix, but they're Spider-Man and Venom kind of thing. Oscar and Felix. If people don't know who they are, the Odd Couple. I probably dated. Well, that was before us even. I think the Odd Couple, but we know who they are. But no, I wouldn't pick up issue 2. But it was a fun book.
So in the chat room, we had, let's see here, we got Double S showed up. He goes, another close call. Thank goodness I did not pick up Harley Quinn. You're the villain. Yeah, you lucked out there, man. You really did. Bruce comes in. He says, oops. I'm just reading down the list here. I'm not sure what he's saying oops to. Caffeinated Comic says Harley has been degraded into a garbage character, period. Sounds like something I can very much get in line with. See, Double S. Huey was really looking for a Spider-Man and Venom. Double Trouble rated XXX. Out loud. Okay. Let's see here. I know I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to go with Mango Bed. Mango Bed? Does that sound right to you?
Or Mango Bed? I don't know if it's
Mango Bed. I'm sorry, I don't read well. I was in the Army. He wants to say hello to everybody. Hey, good to have you here, even though we're not going to get your name right. If there's some way to say it phonetically, by all means, let us know. Kevin Comics also said they came out with Odd Couple remake, which was actually really good. Yeah, I remember that. You know, the whole Perfect Stranger. Oh, remember Perfect Strangers?
Oh, Balky. Oh, yeah, Balky. Cousin Larry. Yep.
That kind of thing. That would have been awesome. Let's blast another book. Let's just go ahead and get the blast out of the way. And unfortunately, I have to stay with DC on this one because it's the next one on the pile here. Again, I was bamboozled. I was hoodwinked on this one. It says so right there. You're the villain. And you see what it says, right? You see that?
Jericho.
Jericho, right? And I was like, oh, I haven't read anything about Jericho in like forever, right? Like legitimately. Well, no, it's Deathstroke. It's a Deathstroke story, and it has Jericho in it. And the truth is, if you pick this up right now and you were to read it, and you haven't picked up any Deathstroke at this point, you're lost. It didn't make any sense. At some point, Jericho has gotten godlike powers, and there is a bit of a godplex going on in here, or a god complex that's sort of happening in this. That's the most deepest thing I can find, but it's more of a son taking over father type story in here. Just really, really, really bad. So bad. It's like light this off. I wouldn't sell this. Like,
who's the writer on that?
Huh?
Who's the writer on that?
Some garbage writer.
I wonder if it's the same writer. I can't remember who when Rebirth came out with Deathstroke. It wasn't too bad.
This is bad. Like even in this, the story is so ineptly wrong, and that's the only way I can really put it. I know that's a weird word to throw on here, but at one point, Deathstroke's super happy to see an old friend of his that he hugs him, and then he's got a problem with hugging his son who's dying in space. He keeps calling him weak and basically calls him a little. Well, he calls them little female anatomy parts. But
ooh, he says that in that book?
Well, he doesn't say it, but he implies it. It's very much implied. And I was just like, really? Like I get Deathstroke's a hard guy, right? I get he's a hard guy, but it's his son. And he's been battling his son, and his son dies, and you're still being kind of a jerk about it. Like, it just didn't relate in any way. There was nothing in there that kind of gripped me and was like, oh, that's meaningful, or oh my God, that's super action cool. I got the most monotone story, and I got this super expensive cover, and it just didn't match, and I was just really let down by this. Even jumping into it at this point, but giving me a nice cover, I fell for it, and I'm a sucker for doing it. So I would dumpster fire this just off the sheer fact that it's stupid. Real quick before we move on to the next comic book, just to keep up with the chat room, we got Huey said it right. Mango. Okay, so Mango. All right, we'll just call you Mango if that's all right. Next, we got Double S. He goes, I can't remember the last time I read a Deathstroke comic, and this is not the one to pick up. Like, I hate to be that guy.
Not your Deathstroke.
Not missing this at all. He does nothing cool in this. He's just a douchebag. Like, if it's a self-proclaimed title, there should be some character to you. This dude's just a douchebag. That's it. And he's not even like a witty one. He's just a douchebag. So, there you go. So, yeah, we'll end it on that one.
I want to jump into a book that it's probably been my favorite tie-in book to the new X-Men stuff coming up, and that's X-Force number 1. X-Force? Yes. X-Force number 1. Definitely, by far, Marauders was okay, but this I thought was so much better. Because I think it had a lot more action. I had a little more depthness to it, if I say that. It's more about the island itself. And I think it's great here. They talk about the beginning. I mean, the very beginning, we have Domino getting captured. She's snuck into this secret society, essentially, and they're trying to make sure nobody's a mutant. And by drawing the blood and testing it, they find out she's a mutant, and she kind of gets captured at the end, and that's kind of leaves that little story. They talk about her later on in the book, saying they haven't heard from her. But the whole line here between Beast is out. He's out, doing some scientific stuff, collecting samples. He almost gets attacked by this giant dog, wolf-looking thing, and Wolverine comes out and saves him and scares him away. And they talk about threats, and they talk about the island, and they talk about, Wolverine says there's always a predator. Regardless of what, there's always a predator. He says, whatever the hell that thing was, you didn't see it coming. Because you felt sheltered, that's what Krakoa does, makes everyone feel safe. And when you're safe, you're soft. I love that line. I love that sets up the whole book right there, because if you look back at what happens later on, that line is very, very important here. Because they had this 3-man team that end up flying into the island. And spoilers, ends up killing some mutants, even a very, very important mutant. At least that's what we think.
Oh, I'm going to spoil it if you don't. Go ahead.
But this was really great. I like this one a lot. It had quite a bit of action in there. The one thing I don't understand is why the hell the Marauders boat looks like garbage. Didn't they have this nice big boat before?
No, she if you remember Marauder, she purposely turned down that boat because they're technically black market traders, right?
Okay.
They have to work under a radar. The big shiny boat with the guns on it, probably not going to do that.
That's right.
Basically pirates.
I'm like, dude, that boat looks like garbage. Wouldn't Emma Frost be able to provide a little bit better?
And she did in Marauders. Like, gave them the best boat ever, but that doesn't work for them.
We do have another character coming back in, and it's kind of cool to see him a little bit beat up, but that's Colossus. Is it this one he shows up in?
Yeah, he shows up in this. But my biggest thing is I don't know much about this character, but the one that's in charge of the organic defenses, the guy that's kind of attached with the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Who is this guy? Do you know anything about him? Black Tom Cassidy.
Not a whole lot.
Not a whole lot about him either. He seemed like an interesting character, but he looked a little downplayed in this whole thing.
He was a villain in earlier X-Men books. I know that.
Right. I remember that part. I'm not sure if this was actually his superpower or not from back then. So I was out of comic books for a while, and he's one of the obscure comic book characters that you never really saw a whole lot of them. That I remember.
Mighty LJ says, hello, everybody.
What's shaking, LL or LJ? LL. Why did I do that? I've been drinking.
She gets off here usually saying, did I screw it up? Did I go in there and mess you guys up? And I say, no, we love it every time you jump in.
Doing fine. Say word.
X-Force #1, this was good. This is probably my favorite tie-in book so far of the X-Men stuff. I think even better. I like this better than the X-Men #1. So this is a stash for me. What about you? What did you think of that?
This is a hard stash for me because, oh crap, we find out what happens when you just set up random borders in foreign countries without their permission and then demand that anybody can walk through them regardless of what that country's sovereignty says. And what do we get? We get a strike team against Krakoa that can't infiltrate, because there's one thing you can't stop is, and even Xavier has said this several times, man always finds a way. Not mute. Man always finds a way. And you know what? When you sit there and you piss off the wrong people and you tell them that this is how things are going to be, well, they have a tendency to step up and fight, which is good. I want to see this conflict because Krakoa being a new country, they're very bold, much like America was when it first started in its boldness. And now we're seeing that. Now, unfortunately, with boldness ultimately comes some sadness. So some dramatic thing has to happen. Some drama has to happen. So we send a strike force in. They got things that can get them past the current defenses, right? Now, it looked like to me like they had some pieces of Colossus. You see the stitching with the metal guards on there. So they infiltrate. It's a highly trained tactical force, and they're lighting people up left and right. And I'll go ahead and spoil it right now. Stop if you don't like this. Yeah, they shoot Xavier, like in the face. like bullet to the face. So you got Wolverine running around, claws out, ready to party. You know what they say, guns out, sun's out, right? We got a little bit of a war going on right now. And so be it. Every new country that gets started, right? We've seen the black market trade. That's you know what? I'll give Hickman this. He's done his research in history. Like, I don't care if it's America or some Midwestern African country or something in Europe, like the fall of Yugoslavia becoming Croatia and Bosnia and Kosovo and that whole thing. When new countries develop, there's always little certain things that have to happen. You know, you need income and you may have to go get some illegal stuff. You've called your independence and people are going to test it and see if they can. And that's what we're getting right now, and a little boldness on top of it. So we get it. We already know that Xavier's coming back because we know Hickman helped us out with how do you bring mutants back? Why do these people keep coming back? We have a trope now that we'll be able to carry on for infinity with his little Golden Globes guy and all that happening. So that okay, I'll buy it. But yeah, what kind of drama are we getting from this? We may end up with just a small, and I hope they go geopolitical with it. Like, I kind of hope they do, where like countries have to pick sides. And in some cases, we do know that Xavier has a very strong relationship with another country right now. Like, he went over there and had that conversation. I want to see if that little country gets a little upset. And then what countries are going to jump on board to kind of support it. We may have I don't want to say a world war because that would be cliché, but maybe a conflict, a small conflict, and kind of see if a major war comes out of that. I think that would be a great arc, and it's a great way to add all these new mutant characters and give everything a home now instead of just throwing random comic book characters into another crisis or another crossover event or whatever the case may be. I kind of want to see that conflict happen. I think that would be very odd because all the other Marvel books are being very meticulous and saying that in several of the Marvel, you know, Krakoa is there. Like, Krakoa is being mentioned in a lot of comic book stuff now. So I'm like, okay, they're purposely setting them aside, making sure they're set aside and understanding that they're a separate nation. So maybe we'll see some sort of big mutant, like World War III with the mutants or whatever the case may be. I kind of hope that's where that's going. I think we have the kickoff conflict for that now. I don't know. What do you think in the comments? Let us know what you think. Or am I overreaching here? Or do we possibly have a World War III going on? Us against the mutants. How cool would that be? And what's your expectations?
The other panel,
I got this 1 in 10 variant too.
Oh, that's actually pretty cool. I like that one.
That's awesome.
I got the Young Guns, the Russell Dodderman cover on that one. There's another panel in here right when those people are attacking the mutants. You know, Wolverine figured out something's up. He's up on top of this mountain or this hill, and he's cooking something. I'm assuming he's cooking that freaking dog thing that attacked Beast earlier. I mean, it doesn't say that, but I'm pretty sure that's what, because I think he's been tracking him too for a while. Did it say here?
Let's see here in the chat room real quick while you look that up. We got Mighty LJ. She says, I'm here on a recon mission. She wants to make sure that nobody's stepping out of line. Thank you for your censorship. I'm not sure. But I'm funny. I'm being funny. I know this why, by the way. Moving on, we got Caffeinated Comics. I can't describe how I feel about Hickman's work on the mutant books so far. You know, I agree with you on that. It's very easy to come out there and be that flash in the pan, and then like a couple other people kind of play on that as they write these other books. I'm kind of curious about that too. Like in this particular issue, I wasn't keen on the art in it. I don't like that stylized kind of art that they did in it. I'm not a fan of that. I know a lot of people are, and again, that's why art's subjective. But I thought it was a good story overall, so I'm kind of curious, and that's, I think, is ultimately going to be the decision on what sells in this comic book series is the story. I think that's going to be the big thing, because you're going to have other people that are going to try to play with Hickman, and then you're going to have people that don't want to play with Hickman. But I think in order for this to be a good event, everybody's kind of got to, like, there needs to be a leader in this and kind of help direct and mentor with this. Otherwise, it's going to turn into just a nightmare of mess. And I hope that's not the case. I hope everybody that's writing is like, hey, Hickman, this is what I'm doing in this. Does this kind of line up with what you're going with here? Or maybe they already know. Whatever that case is, I hope there's some conversation.
Yeah, to talk about Mighty LJ, I mean, she definitely, I have friends that have their wives or girlfriends hate it that they're collect comic books. My wife's an enabler for me. I mean, she's just like, oh yeah, have fun. You can't see here, but I mean, I've showed it before. Right there. That's my Justice League of America #1. You know, the bag glare on it. She bought that for my birthday. You know, it's a low grade book, but man, I opened that on my birthday. I was pretty shocked that she.
You got a good wife. My wife, the only time she wants anything comic book related is if it's a Scotty Young, because she's a huge fan of the Scotty Young artwork. She won't read the comic book. She just wants the covers. So I've gotten to the point to where I'll just buy a Scotty Young, read that comic book, and then give it to her so I don't have to buy another cover.
So she's actually got my back. She's making sure that she can't hear my son yelling at his Call of Duty game in the room next door through my mic. So I don't think eBay can hear him. So I think that's all good. He's having a go of it there. Jeez, oh Pete, I can hear him. He gets so mad at that game.
I stopped playing. I used to play Call of Duty.
Yeah,
I'm so mad because some 7-year-old shoot me in the face, and I'm an old man. Like, I don't move that fast. I'm so angry.
I bought the new Call of Duty, and it pisses me off that you can shoot somebody halfway across the map with a shotgun. So I don't know. Did we lose Joe? He's frozen.
Am I frozen?
Oh no, you're good now. You popped in and out. I brought up X Force. What do you want to talk about now, Joe?
Oh, I got to pick something?
Yeah, you pick something.
Let's see. How many books have I blasted so far?
3,
2. All right, let's blast one more. Yeah, I'm doing it. Thank you, King. And I say thank you because you're going away. Like, this is not going to be your problem anymore. God, I hated this book so much. And I was like, maybe I'm missing. Like, I try to be fair. I do try to be. I don't make snap judgments. So I read the last issue of Batman. What was that? 81. This is 82. To see if this stuff just made sense. Maybe I'm just being unfair. And no, it's just garbage story writing. The dialect in this is so just. I'm not saying comic books should be relatable, but there should be things that we can relate to. I think is very key. My dog is slurping up some water right now because I'm on him.
Your dog drinking water. My son's playing Call of Duty. It's all good.
So we already know what Tom King's favorite Batman story is, right? Breaking the Bat.
Mm-hmm.
The emblem of Bane breaking the Bat, and he pontificates upon that story this entire run. And in this one, well, Batman gets a chance to break the Bat of Bane. Right, there it is. Like, constantly, just non-stop with this. We got it. That was a great story. You, sir, can't write that story, and you shouldn't be able to. And I guess I think my biggest harp on this isn't just that, but this constant dialogue between Batman and his mommy wife. We're going to call it. It's the best way to describe it. They constantly have this banter that goes back and forth, like something me and my wife would have. And mind you, we're middle-aged white folks. All right, fine, I'll admit it. Like, what do you want for dinner? What do you want for dinner? I don't know. Would you please just pick a place? I don't care. I can literally eat anything. Well, I'm tired of making all the decisions. The entire time I read Catman or Catwoman and Batman in this, it just reminded me of me and my wife going back and forth on a Saturday afternoon trying to figure out where we're going to spend $80 to go out to eat. The whole thing reminded me, it was so boring. Like, I should be able to relate to that in any way. And then the fight scene in here, I'm like, oh my God, Batman tricks Bane into taking off all of his stuff and fight him. And then, like, he throws batarangs at him, even though he said it was going to be fit. I think it would have been more interesting if he just kicked his ass. Like, that would have been awesome. Then we got Catwoman in it because, yeah, she's there. And then out of nowhere, like Thomas Wayne or alternate dimension Thomas Wayne shows up and just shoots everybody. Like just a bunch of gunshots off. And I'm like, really? I just read how many pages just for somebody to come in with a gun and pop everybody? And I guess like we keep being promised in interviews and in articles that his last, swan song, if you will leave us all in shock and crying. The only thing you did was kill Alfred, and nobody cared that Alfred died. Like that hasn't been like seriously referenced in any meaningful way. It was this, it's just bad. Yeah, Alfred died. It was like the last issue where every time I punched somebody, it was actually a secret code. Are you freaking kidding me, dude? That it's like listening to a kid, right? And the kid does something wrong, and it was the kid, and you're like, hey, how did this happen? And the kid's like, oh, well, I don't know. Are you sure you don't know? Oh, maybe some raccoons. And it's the most outlandish, ridiculous story ever. Anybody with kids would know what I'm talking about. It like just the outrageous lie happens. And the kid's lying, and you're like, just tell me it was you. Like, seriously, I know it was you. Like, in this case, you didn't have a story, and you made it up, and you phoned it in. I know you did. Stop making it this complicated shit. Oops, sorry, I did that again. This complicated mess, but you never figured that stuff out. You're just making it up to fill panels. Just stop. Just stop and let the next person pick this up and salvage it in some meaningful way because you're a garbage person. Just stop. So yeah, if I didn't say it, it's a blast for me.
So we have Thomas Wayne walking down this corridor, the hallway, and here's Batwoman, here's Robin, here's looks like Spoiler, and another Robin. Did they break in there? Is that what happened? They got
in the last issue, they broke in there to beat up somebody. We don't know why they did. They just did. And apparently they captured Thomas Wayne, and they tortured him a little bit, and then come to find out, I knew what I was doing, and he kicks the shit out of everybody.
That's right.
If they're dead or knocked out, we don't know. But it doesn't matter because it's bad story writing to begin with.
So we got Bruce Wayne doing the whole John McClane thing with the batarangs. He tapes them on his back like they're not there. Remember the Die Hard, at the end of Die Hard, he tapes the gun to his back? That's what Bruce Wayne did here with the batarang, taped to his back. The whole like taking a cowl and a shirt off, that just seems kind of ridiculous to me. I mean, I understand it was a big ploy to make Bane as vulnerable as possible so they could attack him, even though Batman lied about the whole thing. But this final page of, not final page, but that is so lame to me. I think that is so stupid. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm not saying that Bruce Wayne couldn't do that, but man, dude, freaking Batman's jacked there. That's for sure. I mean, but I don't know the whole thing of him trying to break Bane's back like he did his. I don't know. I could do without it. I just think this is. I've supported Tom King through 80+ books of buying this stuff. And I'm really hoping he's done soon. I mean, I know he's supposed to be done soon, but and the other thing I'm getting annoyed about with DC is they have 2 ads that are 2 pages each lately in all the books. This freaking crap here, and then the Snickers stuff. Dude, knock it off. I mean, I know you need to pay for your books, but I'm tired of seeing this crap. I'm taking up 2 pages that could have been story.
Now the one, well, it will never be because if you count the pages, it's an average story page. Notice the book's slightly thicker than normal.
Yeah.
Not the page for it. So the interesting thing about that, and I don't know how it is on the West Coast, but that particular character in there is like on the East Coast here, especially in Virginia on the local channels, we have a character by the name of Dr. Madblood. And he's kind of like an Elvira type character, just a mad scientist that kind of introduces old movies on the local channel. I don't know if you have that out where you're at, but he's the one from Chicago, and Scott or not Scott, but Mike, Spectacular Spider Grandpa. Let's just call him Spectacular Spider Grandpa since that is a YouTube name. He kind of knows that character. That's the character there. So with C2E2 and all that happening in February now, I think that's kind of the play for that, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I think they're kind of gearing up something for that. And I think we'll find that out through these stories. It wouldn't be unheard of in comic books to do something like that right before a Comic-Con. So, because they really played him up at the last C2E2 that me and God damn it. Me and Mike went to. I've been drinking a little bit today, so I'm sorry for the foul language.
I get that those were extra pages and it didn't take away from the story. I get that. But I'd much rather see those 2 pages applied to a story if we're going to add more pages to the book versus having a 2-page full of Snickers and that. But I understand they got to pay bills. They've got to have people that want to give them money to advertise in order for us to keep a YouTube channel up and going and talking about this crappy book.
It's actually kind of a comical story. I read it the first time. I've read the last 2. It's comical. It's funny. It kind of made me chuckle a little bit because it's silly. But going to the chat room real quick, why do you pick your next book? Let's see here. We got Caffeinated Comics. He says, I don't think Tom King has a favorite Batman story. I think he hates superheroes. It would seem that way. Double S says, I literally marking the days on my calendar when Tom King is off writing Batman. I think a lot of people feel the same way. And Mighty LJ says, okay, gentlemen. She uses that term very freely.
Yeah.
How about my son is put on notice? May the force be with you. May the force be with you and live long and prosper. I know that's not the same thing, but I'm a Trekkie.
Okay, talking about another book, you talk about feels thicker, but it actually has a lot of advertisements. That's what IDW is kind of known for too in some of their books, and is the Addams Family, the Bodies issue. So this is a one shot. It's $4.99. That's the only downside to it. It's like $5 for this one shot. When it's they're cool characters. If you like the Addams Family, this could right up your alley. The character to fit right with the same motif for the TV show and stuff like that. So they all fit in there. So what this issue basically is about is Wednesday Addams is kind of getting disgruntled because they don't have any new toys. Her guillotine breaks when she tries to chop off Pugsley's head. And she's like, this sucks because we don't have any new cool torture devices. There's nothing new to do here. I'm getting bored of the same old stuff. I want new stuff. And so she kind of goes on her own little mission. She goes through the library. They're a big library, and she's going through all the books. And she realized she's gone through most of these. All of a sudden, she finds where Uncle Fester has been making his ransom notes. And he has a little magazine there. And the magazine is 11 Teen. So it's just, this is pop, hip magazine, talking about all the cool, fun stuff that normal kids do. And so all of a sudden, she starts doing all this stuff that's in this 11 Teen magazine, and which really puts notice to Morticia and Gomez. You're like, wait a minute, she's acting not normal. What we conceive as normal is not normal to them. Normal to them is the macabre, the dark, murder. And so, she cousin it, she puts braids and stuff in his hair. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. We need to step in and take care of this because now she's acting weird. And she paints Pugsley up in a little boy doll face and puts him in the rack. And he's like, I'm adorable. I'm sitting there laughing at it,
I wish you would have gotten it now. I feel bad that I missed out on that one. I would
Well,
have.
it's kind of a coming of age story because then Morticia starts talking to Wednesday saying, hey, I was a little bit older than you when I was handed this book. And they end up handing her this book that's been handed down from family, generation, little seeing eye book, has a little eye with a lock on it. At the end, she is back to kind of normal. She has Pugsley back in the guillotine and, getting ready. And she says, fake out. You really had me going there for a minute, sis. I wanted to try new things, but this beats the classics. And essentially, the book has opened a portal to a dimension of aliens and monsters. So I wish it would have came out like right before Halloween. I mean, this is definitely a Halloween themed book. $4.99. Not it's hard to pay $5 for this kind of book. Good quality paper. That's one thing. If you're a big Addams Family fan, definitely right up your alley. Doesn't move far away from that whole story for the characters. So it's probably one book I'd probably send to my daughter who's big into the macabre Nightmare Before Christmas stuff. She loves that. And this is kind of right there. I might send that to her. So $5 though. So down. Well, I guess with my discount it would have been $4 maybe. But
don't show off. Don't show off.
Don't show off. I gotta talk about my discount, man.
And go ahead, give the comic book store a plug. Who was it?
Oh, who was? Oh, that was Astral Games. That was the one that I picked this up at.
They've been good to us in the past. I'm sure it's a good shop.
Yeah. He always does what he can to try to help me out with getting books too, though.
I get it, and trust me, it helps for a lot of us to pick up a lot of books to review them. You get some stinkers, man. It's good to get a little bit of a discount. I'm going to talk about a book, and I'm not sure where I'm at on it. I'm still torn, so I'm not straight out of stash yet. I'm going to try to talk myself into it. And that's Yondu, #1. Did you pick this up?
I did not. I think I passed on it just because I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'll wait to see what other people say about it. I think it's going to be pretty easy to find. I don't think it's
I think so. The great thing about this book, the good thing is they kind of took Yondu, what we saw in the cinema, right? What we saw in the movie theater. They took that character and they took the Yondu character from the old comic book series, the one with the big mohawk, the hair, and the bow and arrow and all that. And they kind of did this unique thing where they kind of played the two off of each other and actually described them as two different people.
Oh, really?
You have the one, and let's just say now, because it's space, right? Time's infinite. So we have the one that we know from the cinematic universe. He's a pirate, scoundrel, horrible person. 1, he knows it. 2, he doesn't care. And 3, he's going to be who he is. And then we have this future Yondu, who's not related to him, but was given his name because this Yondu, at some point in the future, becomes a great hero, like something to be admired. But as anything else, you kind of tell the best of people that are heroes instead of what they're actually like, right? In philosophy, it would be called the noble lie, right? You tell the noble lie to make the people happy, and you maybe don't tell everybody the worst case scenario of people. Like, all right, so let's real quick, just as an example, not to get too deep with this, right? We all think Freud was this great psychologist, psychopsychologist, the whole 9 yards, right? We love him. We still base a lot of our theories off of the stuff he says today. The truth is, this is a man that promoted cocaine use for small kids at a very early age. And his cure pretty much for everything was cocaine. Like, he was kind of okay with cocaine. Now, cocaine then, cocaine now, things change over a period of time. I'm not justifying drug use in any way, but we tell ourselves a noble lie to focus on the good things that he said, right? Like, we focus on that stuff. Kind of the same thing happens in here. So when this future guy, who's kind of his namesake is based off of this hero, kind of finds out that his hero is a douchebag, Like he's just the worst, and all this is surprising to him because he doesn't hear or he didn't hear about all this other stuff in this period of time in his life. I like this kind of play in a story because you got the naive guy, and then you kind of got the heart around the edges, and we don't know what quite made Yondu the hero at this time. Was he Mary Poppins? We don't know, by the way. Good reference there, Jacko. That was great. But yeah, I like these kind of stories where they kind of play off of, oh, you're a great person from our past. And they're like, no, I'm just out to make a dime. I'm kind of the hard reality of it is I'm just hustling. I like those kind of stories because one, the person's going to get convinced to be noble at some point, right? And it's because of this admiration this other person has for them. We already know the story, but how does it play out? I always like the details and the devil more than anything. And I think this is telling that kind of story, and I can enjoy it for that. If you don't like that kind of story because it's slightly vaguely predictable, then probably don't want to pick up this comic book. But again, I'm a sucker for that kind of story because we know Yondu at the end is going to turn out to be the good guy. A good example of this, the Mohawk thing, is obviously a very traditional thing on their home world. And seeing Yondu without it shaved down, and him complaining about how much of a pain in the butt it is to have it, was a very much shock to this other Yondu. So I found that to be funny. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense to have all that. Like, it's all in the way. Like, he's very hard-nosed. I liked it. So let's see what the Rogue Scallion does. Let's see if he pops open an umbrella and tells everybody, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. That would be cool. But all in all, I enjoyed the story overall. And just straight for storytelling, this is a stash for me.
Interesting. And you talk about cocaine was prescribed for everything back then. It was crazy to me. I see, like, stand in a line, you see the 5-hour energy. You say, stay awake longer, be more productive. I mean, they used to promote cocaine the exact same way.
Same way.
So the 5 hours energy is now just the cocaine of this new generation.
Yeah, they just figured out a way to get around cocaine. That's all.
My nose keeps itching. It's nothing to do with cocaine. Okay, I just want to let you know that right now.
I noticed every time I said cocaine, you would itch your nose. That's weird.
Yeah. It's a what do they call that? It was a scientific experiment where they rang a bell and they gave a dog a piece of food.
Kowalski's.
Yeah. So
yeah, is that what experiment. Yeah.
It's associated with that. Every time you go cocaine, I touch my nose.
Just say.
I don't want to talk about this book just because it's been promoted, I think, fairly heavily over the past, I would say, almost a year now. It's Undiscovered Country by Image. I'm
glad you brought it up. Yeah.
So this is written by Snyder. That was one reason why I picked it up. So Scott Snyder, and I hate having a mustache sometimes. Sometimes little hairs get turned up into my nose.
While your cocaine gets caught up in the
cocaine. So in this story, essentially, the United States is cut off, boom, from everybody else because of some big. We don't know what it is yet. They call it the rain, I think, don't they?
Yeah, somebody was in charge and got tired of everybody's crap, so they bordered everything off.
With the big invisible border, apparently. The other thing is other people crashed and stuff into it. But
the one wall does look like something from. It looks like the old G.I. Joe compound.
Yeah. My big beef from that panel there is the flag.
Yeah,
because it's not displayed properly. Now, I'm not a military guy. I am a scout guy, Boy Scouts of America. And we talk about the American flag and how it's supposed to be displayed. And it so irritates me so bad when people don't pay attention to that. I don't know why that is. I was watching a DC cartoon that had Lex Luthor's up there talking about being president. They had the flag displayed wrong. I shut it off right there. I couldn't watch any more of it because it irritated me.
This is more. I don't think this was meant to be. I don't think it's ignorance either. I do think this comic book, if I could interrupt real quick, as I'm reading through this comic book and I'm reading it, I think there's going to be some subtle hints in here, and I think that may be one of them that you may want to pay attention to. Because if this goes where I think it's going to go, it's it's going to be, you're going to be like, well, I didn't know that was coming. Then you're going to go back and look at the issues or get the trade paperback, and you'll be like, oh.
Because sometimes when the flag's displayed that way, it's in distress, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that would be one of the hints right now.
Okay, yeah, because they're saying, "Hey, we're having problems right now." That's the only reason why you would display the flag upside down.
Yeah, there's a fraction in charge right now, and it's not us.
Yeah, yeah. So I see where you're going there. But it's one of those things where I look at though, and I said it just irritates me, and it's just one of my little pet peeves. I don't know what that is. But essentially, they're gathering all these experts up to go back, and they said that they've got communication from somebody inside the United States saying, "Hey, guess what? We're going to let you in because we want to be able to talk to you and try to figure this out." So they get this one scientist lady who's been working. It looks like maybe like third world country. It looks like is that Rome or Greece?
Well, what he said was, I have a cure to the disease, the sky virus. So they have a lady that's an expert in the sky virus, whatever that thing is.
Or she's been working. I don't know if she's an expert because she can't cure anybody yet. She hasn't been
right, but she's been following it, and kind of thing. So
which is crazy. Like the wind blows up, or the chopper comes down and blows and people are stealing their tarps and everything. Oh, can't let the dust hit us. Can't let the dust hit us. So we don't really know what exactly this virus is yet. But they do get in the United States. They end up getting shot down. Their pilots get his leg chomped by a giant bison-looking thing.
Because I think he's eaten alive, probably by the end of it. But yeah.
But it's crazy. All these weird-looking beasts show up. Some dude riding a land shark. Some old like '57 Chevy, giant snake-looking thing.
Everything's got winds. All the mechanical devices have like wind sails to them, or sails in front of them. Yeah,
but the rest of the group actually goes away in which the pilot says, "I'm gonna see if I can get this fixed." I look in the back and dude, that chopper is not getting fixed. It is freaking trash. There's no way. But they end up getting away. They see these giant beasts and stuff going after their pilot. And they see him getting eaten alive. And so they're freaking out. They think they're going to run that direction. But here's another big group of them. And then they get pulled from the side from this guy, said, "Hey, follow me down these rocks." And we find out that's the leader. That's the president or whatever of the United States. And he kind of shows this map of how the states are kind of split off now.
More like tribal territories. Yeah.
Very Uncle Sam looking.
His name's even Sam.
Yep, character.
You notice he was the one in the message about the cure. It's the same guy. Just
yeah. I knew that. Yeah, same guy. But yeah, I mean, when I first saw him, I said that dude looks kind of like Uncle Sam or Colonel Sanders, one of the two.
I think that's the point. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Interesting concept. I think I'll definitely pick up issue 2 to kind of see where it's going. It's post-apocalyptic kind of story. It's crazy that to see the United States is shut off. You can't get in at all because of or whatever it is, or you get shot down. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm definitely gonna check it out. But it said, how long did it say that's been since somebody's been inside the United States?
30 years, and a lot has changed in 30 years.
Yeah, but that's definitely a stash for me. I'll pick up issue 2 to kind of follow that along. That's a pretty big print run, so don't expect any speculation on that. But they had so many freaking covers, so many variant covers for that.
Yeah, some of the more rare variants for this, like direct type stuff that you order.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe. But yeah, again, I bought this because my overall worry was I was afraid this would be political and it would be a border story, and I'm not really interested in that. Mm-hmm. Like I read comic books for escapism. I don't read it for a political commentary in any way. But yeah, I picked this up. How much could possibly go wrong in 30 years, or how different can things change? Like legitimately writing animals in the desert, I think it's a little far fetched. I do like this whole kind of Mad Max thing that kind of got going here with the band and people wrapped up and things being all kinds of weird. I'm loving this as a story. I like the Uncle Sam kind of feel to it and the freedom fighters thing with it as well. I think that's really cool. My wife just walked in, so that's that big screening. she,
I heard the door too.
Yeah, she apologizes.
No.
But I like this. It's so far extreme as the possible worst case scenario. What could happen if a country becomes landlocked? That is ridiculous. I like the little homage to the Wienermobile just randomly in there. What I really like about this is kind of in the background, you can kind of maybe see how a lot of this stuff happened with the equipment. I love it when they take post-apocalyptic type equipment and they kind of throw a bunch of stuff in together to kind of make it look like something else, but you can go through and you can like, oh, that's the part of a ship, that's the part of a tank. They kind of do that in this. That was really fun. They were supposed to go to Aurora, Colorado. There's some place on the West Coast in the deserts at this point. So they got a long haul to go. But obviously something scammed them to come there. Why did that happen? Okay, let's go. They got some young kid who's the subject matter expert on pulp culture from America's time frame from 30 years ago. And I was thinking, why can't they just find somebody that's like 50 years old that traveled to America? That would explain that. But okay, we're going to let the kid figure it out. All right, fine. He's there for cultural references to anything that they may have. You got a doctor. You got a guy who's tried to break into America a couple of times and failed, some major. He's very hard-nosed. He's the hard-nosed one. I like this. And you can, as you're reading this, you can kind of get the cultural references that he's grabbing. Like even the pilot with the beard and the bald head that looked very similar to the, what was the movie where Matthew McConaughey and the guy that played Batman, they discovered a dragon. The dragon.
Yeah, I know that movie. I know where you're talking.
Right. He had the beard, the bald head. He's riding the tank. It kind of looked like him. Say that again?
Rain of Fire.
Rain of Fire, says my wife, and she's right, so you can't disagree.
We have a winner.
And Jacko says Rain of Fire as well. So yeah, Rain of Fire. The pilot looked like him with the glasses and everything. And you got the kid. He kind of looks like Marty McFly with the jacket and everything. You constantly get these little cultural references in there that is just Mad Max. The guy wrapped up in bandages, the wind sails on the vehicle. Like, it is something that is just so culturally pop referenced that it's great. And it's one of those books you really got to just sit back and take it in instead of just reading it, which drives me crazy because I'm a story reader. But even I started recognizing things and I'm like, oh my God, like this is great. The tribe thing, everything in it is just so culturally relevant and it's so subtle. I thought it was done beautifully. Plus, it's a good story, even though it's a story we've probably heard before, but so subtle in the references. So this is a hard stash for me. And I've talked way too long on this one comic book. So I'm done.
So if you look at I go back to the American flag thing. If you look at the place where they're inside that their hideout, there is an American flag up top, but it is displayed properly.
Right.
Stars are up to the left hand side, always upper left.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I say that's one of my pet peeves to look at. But they have a whole bunch of pop culture stuff in here. Oh, gas station thing, the lights, the neon lights, Mel's Diner. You know, there's a whole bunch of kind of older references too. This has quite a bit of backstory to it as well. You know, as in a whole bunch of pages that were not part of the comic book. So
yeah, and even in the back of the book, I highly recommend after the scarred Uncle Sam figure points at you and everything. I would definitely go ahead and read the origins part of it. If you've skipped that in some way, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, you may want to go ahead and read through that because there's a lot of subtlety hints. This is one of those things where you got to read everything.
Yeah.
You're going to have to because the world's just too big and too changed. And again, back to the flag thing, I would be upset by a lot of this stuff too. I've taught flag etiquette, but we're also dealing with it in America at this point where I think etiquette's been thrown out the window and it's all just savagery at this point. And it's kind of that, well, at least we have an American flag type scenario. Like at least we have that. So I like that. Let's see where that goes. Now, how bad could this comic book turn in a couple of issues? Like it's there, right? It could do that. Like this could turn into a whole, these are my problems with America. Like so easy. I hope they don't go that route because they have a great way to kind of reestablish, I guess is the best way to put it. Like they could go one or two ways after this issue. Like this could just become a complete insult and Americans are horrible and this is why and blah, blah, blah. And we hear it politicized all the time. Or it can go the other way where this is why we're so different and so unique and blah, blah, blah. I hope it doesn't go either one of those ways. I hope it kind of keeps that nice neutral balance to say that both of it's ridiculous, whether it's right or left. You know, what do you really want to accomplish? Here's your goal. Bad people need to go away. Good people need to be in charge. Smart people need to advise.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
So then my question is this the future for the X-Men book? Is if you think about it, Crocea and the United States are both, you can't get in unless you can get in, and they have something that's going to be able to cure this disease, like the X-Men have this little flower to cure diseases. I don't know.
It's interesting. I don't think there's a cure for the Sky virus. I'm just now. I don't think there is. I think there's some sort of scam going on right now. What the purpose of that scam is, I don't know. But because again, the Uncle Sam guy, it's the same guy, just without the scar, and he doesn't look as old.
Yeah.
So obviously something has happened. I definitely want more of this. So you got my money on the next issue.
I definitely would follow him into the hole in the rock thing, getting my leg eaten off by a bison, though, for sure. So
right.
I think that's the right way to go about that. So we're just over an hour. Do we want to go through lightning round, or do you want to talk about any other books that really stand out you want to chit chat about real quick?
How did we go through so many books with panel of 4 and we just hit up that few?
No, well, we talked a little bit more about them too. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did 6 books. That was it.
I always end up with so many books. All right, so let's do a lightning round. You want to do a lightning round? Because I still have tons of books.
Well, if there's another book you definitely want to talk about, we can talk about it. But if we go lightning round if you want, it's up to you.
I don't know. I've been pretty hard on books. I feel like I should do another stash real quick, just to show that I'm not a huge jerk. So here's an easy stash for anybody. If you've been missing out on these books, I am sorry. It's not too late to get on board. I got to do it. Savage Avengers. Like, this is just straight fun. And this is what comic books should be. We have a great story in here. We get introduced back to the original team, or some of the original team from the original series when it first started. You know what? Jacko wants to talk about New Mutants. All right, I'll talk about this at the end. Here we go. We'll talk about New Mutants. I'm sorry. Always satisfy your customer. All right, let's talk about New Mutants. All right, for a #1 issue, and I got this, I think it's a 1 in 10 or 1 in 25.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a 1 in 25 variant cover. This is nothing more than a reintroduction to the New Mutants, because I don't, and maybe I'm wrong because we didn't have as much information back in the day as we do now, but New Mutants was kind of that other X-Men story that kind of just faded into the shadows of X-Men, right? That's not to say they're bad or good. So this entire book just kind of explained to us who the New Mutants were. The cool thing about this is we brought in Starjammers and that whole pirate team, and we found out that the kids are kind of they're naive, like they're brash at best. Like they're told to stay on the ship because the adults are going to go get into some stuff, right? They're going to go steal something. The kids break the rule because they want to get off the ship and they want to get involved in some stuff. I always mispronounce it. Is it the Shiri or Shirai? Shiri, the people that made Adam Warlock.
Oh,
The Shirai.
I have to look at what house.
Yeah, you take a look at that and correct me as we go through this. So it's them, right? And they're kind of religious douchebags, or they think they're better than everybody. So dealing with dirty pirates is not really their thing. We kind of get some story in this. Again, this is just mostly reintroduction of characters at best. Not a whole lot of action in here other than just to let us know what the characters can do. It doesn't go farther than that in any way. So all in all, is it a blast or is it a stash becomes the question. For right now, I'm calling it a stash. In issue 2, I don't know how that's going to go. And the reason why is because it looks like the next issue is going to be a big court hearing because they were captured at the kids were captured at the ending. Okay, they surrendered, whatever. Not a lot of action going on in this, like very little action. It's a lot of commentary, people being stuck on a ship, a lot of explanation more about Krakoa and how it works, and how one particular person says something's not right here. So we're kind of getting this kind of hint, like something's off about Krakoa and why it exists. Like that's kind of starting to be hinted through at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure what they're going with that, but we do understand when you add Krakoa. I don't know if I should say philology at this point or agriculture at this point. I don't know how to describe it, but whenever you add Krakoa into something else in a vegetative state, it kind of kills it. Because the one guy had the plants and everything on the ship, and Krakoa stuff gets added to it and it starts rotting and killing everything, and the guy's kind of upset about it. I think that meant to be a passover, like this is happening, don't pay attention to it because this means something, and I don't want you to focus too much on it so it can be a aha moment later. I hope that's the case because that would be kind of cool. Let's see here. Caffeinated Comment says there's nothing wrong with being opinionated, Joe, nor having an issue with crap comics. Shire Empire, whatever they're called. Yeah, you got it, buddy. But all in all, I'm going to hold on to this one because I like Starjammers. I always thought they were interesting characters, a lot more than the New Mutants. Like maybe I'm a bad person for that, but I've always found Starjammers more interesting to me. I think Starjammers, and I'll say this right now, live on YouTube. I think Starjammers are the only reason why the one show on Sci-Fi ever existed, and that's the one I can't think of the name of right now.
I don't think I've ever watched. I might know the show you're talking about.
They had the guy and the blue girl.
And the little puppet-looking dude.
Yeah, the puppet dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that. I never have watched it, but
you know what I mean. Farscape. I think that's kind of like just a spin-off from Farscape because that was kind of the whole theme of this thing. Maybe not as bloody as these characters, but very similar to them. So yeah, I found more interested in Starjammers in this than I did the New Mutants. Not saying things wrong with the New Mutants, but I don't know. Everything just seemed a little easy for the New Mutants in this, and this read boring to me. Like I wish I didn't listen to Jacko, and I wish I would have talked about Savage Avengers. But but we aim to please here. You wanted an opinion, I gave it to you. But hey, how's that 1 in 25 variant, right? Like, I don't know what to say at this point. I'm sorry.
This was one of the books that I tried to read late the other night. I think it was last night, and
Yeah.
I was so tired, and I couldn't get through it. Unfortunately, I think I made it up through when Wolfsbane was brought back. I think.
Yeah.
I wasn't very far into the story there, and I said I'm just so exhausted. I can't read it. Rod Reyes' art is not too bad. I like the art in this book. I think he's done quite a few other books, but it is kind of cool seeing some of the old the New Mutants back. You know, some of the original characters, because I think where's the character page? It says what's characters: Karma, Wolfsbane, Mondo, Cypher, Mirage, Sunspot, Chamber, and Magic. So it's kind of cool seeing some of those characters back. Is it one that I mean, if I was so bored of the first one, do I want to pick up the second one?
But you know what? That's what's going to happen, and I've been noticing that's what they're going to happen. These one issues that kind of drag a little bit. The second issue always turns out to be the action-packed one because if you got to reintroduce characters. Because again, I'll make the argument right now. If could anybody, without us saying it or reading the new comic book, could they tell us who the New Mutants original team was? Could you name them all?
I don't know if I can name them all, but I know if
like Wolfbane, right? The Irish
Sunspot.
Yeah, Cypher. Look, you can even get away with Cypher.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, you're like, eh. That's how I always felt about New Mutants. It was always kind of the comic book. So you got to reintroduce them. You got to make them cool. You got to redevelop the characters. And then you got to tell a story with them. That's a lot to do in one comic book. And I get it. Yeah. I get that plight. So maybe issue 2 will be a little better. I'll definitely flip through it before I buy it at the comic book shop. Like that's not going to be on my pull list. That's just something I'm going to pull and read through it real quick and decide if I want to do a review on it.
Let's see here. What's on the list of books they talk about coming out? So it looks like Fallen Angels is the only other one that's a tie-in book that we haven't read yet. So, I mean, out of all of them so far, I think X-Force has been my favorite one out of all of these tie-in books.
Yeah, I liked Marauders. I'll read some
more. Marauders was good. But I don't think it was as good as X-Force for me.
I thought X-Force was good. The mainline story for X-Men, I'm liking that as well.
Yes, Xavier
in and out of.
Double S says, wasn't Xavier part of the original New Mutants? Yes, he was. He was the one that went around and got them all. Like Sunspot was at a soccer game in Brazil, and I'm trying to think where the other characters came from. Wolfsbane was in Scotland, wasn't he, or Ireland?
I thought it was Ireland.
It might have been Ireland. I don't know. I'm not really quite sure.
I mean,
one sure.
Swim, the other one doesn't. Pick your choice.
Yeah. They're both alcoholics, so aren't they? Okay, so New Mutants. Okay, I'm gonna go through lightning round with my stuff. Legion of Superheroes. I don't know. Kind of a weird story. Superboy is constantly he's at this place where everybody's a superhero, I think now, and he's trying to figure out what's going on with it. It's like, what's so special about this place? He's concerned he's in Kandahar, the bottle city. He's worried about that.
They don't like that.
And they find out too that that the Earth or whatever the planet they're on is falling apart, but it's like the big telescope thing's kind of keeping it together or something. Maybe? No, I think I'm going to pass on issue 2. I don't think I like it very much.
Oh, you know what? We're going to argue, sir. Are you kidding me? That was good.
I didn't like it so much. Sorry.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Vault presents Heist #1. This is a story about a guy getting out of prison. He's a thief. He's trying to steal a planet. He's trying to get a team together, and it's very Gone in 60 Seconds. You know how the montage of who they're going to pick up. You know, like, oh, we're going to get this guy because this guy's good at this, and this, and this girl's good at this, and this. It's okay. I don't think it's great. Nothing nothing new there other than stealing a planet. He is back on his planet. This one kid's talking about all these stories of this thief, unknowing that he's talking to the thief. The kid's like, "Oh, this guy was so great," but the guy's not letting him know that I'm that guy.
Yeah,
It was okay. I don't know if I'll pick up issue 2. Crone #1 was interesting. Cone, or almost like a Red Sonja kind of character. She loved battling when she was younger. She dispatched her main villain. There she is right there when she's younger in a bikini fighting, just like Red Sonja. She thinks she kills the big bad guy, and she grows old, and she's essentially almost trying to kill herself, but she's like, "Oh, not today, I'm not going to die today." And then to come to find out that that the guy she thought she killed 30 years ago is still alive, and he's going to be attacking again. So this was kind of interesting. This is if Red Sonja were an old lady and having to fight the battles all over again. So interesting. Crone #1. I'd pick up issue 2 on that one. Savage Avengers was good. It's still continuing to be good. Duggan on this is great. Conan realizes he's in this fake Brazil, and he tries to break out, and they subdue him, and Dr. Doom finds him. Yeah, that's good stuff. King Shazam, a tie into the Infected storyline, where Billy Batson just gets pissed off at his foster parents, ends up leaving his foster sister, realizes something wrong. She goes to track him down. They get into a big fight. I don't know. It's okay. This is another one we're probably going to disagree on too, is Weapon Plus. I don't see where it really tied. I mean, yeah, sure, it ties in, but do we need it to go with the story? Unless Weapon H is going to have going into the Carnage storyline, then we might need it. Joe's saying right on the nose. It was okay. Some good battle scenes in there. And Immortal Hulk. This is going off the rails for me a little bit. A little different than what it is. Now, I instantly got a little bit triggered. I'm going to say the word triggered. When we have a Brawn, the old totally awesome Hulk, come in wearing his millennial beanie half off and come and telling Bruce Banner, dude, you don't want to do that. I know what anger is. You don't want to do that. I don't know about that. I'm kind of on the fence about it. So I don't know. That's me. Those are the books. The other ones two I didn't read this week were Justice League 35, and I did not get to Green Lantern's Black Stars.
How do you not get through comic books? Like, it's legitimately 10 minutes worth of reading. How does everybody not?
I don't know. I got the new Call of Duty game came out, so I play that sometimes. And
yeah, I'm not a video gamer anymore. All right. I'm going to talk about some comic books. We're going to try to go through these quickly. We're at an hour and a half. Let's see what we can do here. Legion of Doom. Dude, if you're not reading Legion of Doom, Year of the Villain, you're going to be missing out on a whole lot of stuff. Perpetua in this literally destroys the Batman Gaslight universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the planet. She destroyed that entire universe. Like, gone. So we finally get the full effect of her power, and then she tells us that that's not her entire power. Like, she's kind of holding back a little bit because she needs to regenerate. I like it. I like Absolution, and Absolution is happening now, and now our heroes have to figure out, they have to think outside the box. But I always say, in order to think outside the box, you got to know your box. And I think our heroes are finally understanding the box that they're in, and this will convert into the defeating story, if you will. A lot of great room in here to make some horrific things happen still, though. I've been enjoying it. Black Stars. I liked this. I really liked this. We got Hal Jordan. He's part of the Black Stars now. All right. They're going to go reform planets and make everybody be good people. Like, they literally went to a planet that's a dumping crap hole of demons, and they turn it into a beautiful paradise for this omniscient controller to come to. And he gets his next set of orders and he goes to the coordinates. And guess what? It's Earth. So, yeah, let's see how that ends up. So, yeah, I'm jumping on board with this. Next, I liked Legion of Superheroes. I'm sorry. I thought this was good because it definitely gave perspective to some degree, right? When things are at their worst, you have to do the best you can. And obviously in the future, that has happened and the kids are just used to it. It's their regular way of life at this point. Although you have some dreamers that would like to see things like oceans. By the way, Earth does not have oceans in the 31st century. So they were able to get back Aquaman's trident, and they're under the impression that it can bring the oceans back. So again, now we're dealing with historical myth versus reality and how things actually work. They may not understand that because they're children at best. They're teenagers or children at that point. Some good stuff in there. I think we're going to get a lot of fight authority when we realize that authority is nothing more than lies and oppression. That can be played without being political, and I think DC's always done a good job on that. A lot of stuff pulled from the Silver Age in here too. A lot of the same heroes, a lot of the same themes and concepts, and I like that. I'll go with that as a comic book collector. I like to see that kind of stuff every now and then, and this is doing it. I think it's just doing it more vastly than they did in the Silver Age, if that makes sense. If you're not a Silver Age collector, probably doesn't make sense, but just go with me. I'm on YouTube. I wouldn't be on here if I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Savage Avengers. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so glad that they continued after the annual, and we have a the continuation of the arc on here. I'm glad that Garth isn't just getting away. They're chasing him down. I love the whole trap Conan and tranquilize him, make a holodeck scenario. And immediately when he woke up, I was like, oh man, they're going to do a holodeck. Oh, I knew right then and there. But then they busted out their own content and made fun of it. And Conan figured it out. And come to find out, it's Dr. Doom that was capturing him for some reason. We don't know. And instead of just trying to tell him how smart he is or why he needs to do what he does, he appeals to Conan and his nature. He's been nonstop complaining about the food and the liquor he's been drinking nonstop. So Doom's like, look, I got good food and I got the best liquor. Settle down and let's go have a conversation. And Conan's kind of cool with that. And I was like, yeah, I like that too. That makes sense. So that was just a great story. I don't think Immortal Hulk is trying to go political. I know that would be an easy assumption in this book. I think ultimately they're making fun of the extremists on both ends of it. I like the fact that the Minotaur is coming back in his original form as the owner of Rox Incorporation, or the Rox Corporation. I think that's interesting. I like Namor coming back up in here because now it makes sense, because Namor's all about humans and everything they do wrong and yada, yada, yada. And Banner's kind of jumping on that bandwagon now. I like that. That's okay. Heck yeah. Have an argument about it. Let's burn some shit to the ground. Damn, it's third time tonight. Let's burn some stuff to the ground. Also, the American Prophecy, which is quoted in the front here, is known as a prolific poem, meaning it kind of, no matter what it says, it has some relevance in the future because it's just vague enough. Like, that's the best way to describe that kind of writing. Like Nostradamus, what he does, yeah, you can always make a connection. Often in the American prolific, that often happens in it as well, and it's been referenced many times too. At some point, 1984 will also be referenced as that kind of book too. The American prolific was originally written in 1795, so it takes a while for it to be prolific. Just a side note, so you can say comic books make you smarter. There you go. Fantastic Four, we get a war of the classes in this, but why do the classes ultimately happen? It's in defense of their own world. Yeah, that kind of happened in here, and I'm kind of cool with this as Grimm, or the Thing, kind of finds out that he's the garbage person. He unites the garbage people to uprise, and they're going to raise out of the muck, if you will. Johnny Storm, as wild as he is starting to find out that maybe somebody else needs to be picking his true love, because he seems kind of happy in this. You would say he's ablaze with it.
Oh wow.
It took me all week to figure that one out. And Sue and Mr. Richards there, they figured out that this is all a sham. The entire thing's over protection, it's over fascism, and it's just packaged in a very convenient way, and they're calling it out. So now we have a war in this. This is going to be good. I'll go with that kind of story. Amazing Spider-Man number 33 is just to remind us that Spider-Man 2019 exists for some reason. We don't know why he's here, why anything's going on with him. We get some story in here. Oh, they brought back the Hitman, which I thought was kind of cool. I hadn't seen him in a while. I had his first, second, and third appearance, so that was really cool to see him back. But then we also find out somebody built some technology that could possibly invade people's secrecy in this, because it can predict probability very easily. And the comedian's out running politics right now as a politician. Or not as a politician, but as somebody that politicians listen to. I think is the best way to describe that.
I think most politicians are chameleons anyhow, aren't they?
I'm not going to say. I don't know who watches this show, and I'm trying to live. By the way,
yeah.
By the way, Epstein didn't kill himself. So talking about weapon,
you went there, okay.
So yeah, I like Weapon Plus, and here's the reason why I like it. I like it when somebody takes classic stories. I don't care what genre you take them from, and they start finding connections in them, like a conspiracy theorist would do, and create the story. And in this, we get the super soldier serum all the way through Weapon HV, that horrible run where they took animals and they gave them cosmic powers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that happened in the 80s and it was horrible. But they kind of started connecting everything together, and eventually we end up with something that can battle Carnage. We get Weapon H in this. I thought he was very good in this. I genuinely liked this story, even though I'm not a huge Weapon H fan. But if I can speculate for a second, I think we're going to get some good stuff with Weapon H here. I think he's going to be him and Swamp Thing are going to be the two deciding factors after this.
Man-Thing?
Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing's DC.
No, I'm sorry, Man-Thing. You're right. Am I right?
Man-Thing's.
Man-Thing. I think those are going to be the two sleepers in this whole storyline. Either that, or we'll get more connection through the secret clandestine organization under the clandestine organizations. If that's confusing, welcome to Comic Book Talk. Let's see here. Ghost Rider. I'm liking Ghost Rider right now, especially this 1/25 variant. But first off, that's cool. We got Danny and we got Johnny Blaze. They're going after each other, but Johnny Blaze is the king of hell, so screw you, Danny. I'm stronger. That's pretty much the attitude in this. But while Blaze is here in our world capturing demons, hell's run amok. And Mephisto's kind of pulling strings in the background. A lot of Mephisto stuff coming up lately. I think maybe that may be something you all want to keep your eyes on.
Well, did you read the story that came out, how Johnny Blaze took over hell? How he took it from Mephisto? So, I mean, he's just trying to get it back now, right?
Yeah, pretty much. For indies, real quick, Berserker kind of left me wanting more. It just kind of up and dumped me. Berserker, the barbarians in our world, he travels back to his world after defeating some bad guys that came over to our world, brings his little homeless buddy with him. They found this portal where they can pretty much travel to any world, but they chose to go back to Berserker's world. And now our homeless friend kind of understands legitimately why our friend's the way he is. And he's like, you know what? I think I don't have much to go back to. I think I want to hang out with you. So now we have a quest type story where they're going to travel around. I kind of hope they keep this going and don't just leave it on this, because this is not how you end an issue. There's no definitive answers in this. If they keep this going, it should be at least one of those comic books that you'll pick up every now and then just for a good story. Gutter Magic. Look, I'm not even going to ruin this. If you're not reading Gutter Magic, it's almost like you don't like comic books with a fantasy steampunk type of theme to them. If that's not your thing, that's fine. But if it is, you're missing out. This is just good stuff. I'm not going to harp on it. I'll talk about it more later in the future. Spawn 302, we were kind of promised a first appearance of something in this. Nope. They just reiterated that Spawn's been around since medieval times.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah, I can find more.
Man, we are about 40 minutes over what we normally do for a review of a book. Usually we're done by 20 minutes over. Usually done by an hour and 20 minutes. Just as a thing, if you guys have read any of these books and you're catching this in the rewind, mention down below, hey, I hated that book, or hey, you guys are wrong. I don't care. Tell us anything down in the comments down below, or say, yeah, I agree with you with 100% with that book.
Or the comic book that's coming up and it's an issue number 1, number 2, number 3, and you're like, hey, y'all pick this book up and let me know. Hey, I'm happy to do that. That's easy enough.
Yeah. Real quick question for you. When's Drunk Ralphie going to be back?
So Drunk Ralphie is currently reviewing over at the Pocan Joe channel. He's currently reviewing Daredevil because somebody was nice enough to leave a comment and ask about a blind acrobatic. By the way, thank you. So Drunk Ralphie, in his moments of sobriety, is reading tons and tons and tons of issues of it, and he's categorizing and he's referencing. The hardest thing about it is referencing stuff of a fictional character, right? Like you can go anywhere with a fictional character, but he's trying to do what he does best and make sense of it, and then drink a bunch of Jameson and explain it to you. So he's working on that. That should be pretty interesting. And we're looking at possibly maybe expanding into story arcs overall, do more group stuff, like the mutants overall. Why are they the way they are? That kind of stuff. Like we work together on it. Like we just sit and chit chat. We read through comic books and find references and try to figure it out. I only have about a handful of people that are willing to sit down and kind of talk about comic books like it's something serious.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. And definitely go check out Drunk Ralphie's Captain America, which was another great episode by him. That's on Pocan Joe's channel. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But before we do, we talked about at the beginning of our show, if you like to support us and stuff what we do on this channel, you can support us through Patreon. This was the book of the month. This month was the Black Cat #1 Greg Horn variant. We try to find one of these books once a month to give away to our Patreon subscribers. Simple as $1 a month, and our Patreon gives you one entry into the book, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. You can donate more if you want. That's fine. But usually we'll just give people 3 entries into the contest. There's a lot of great books that we have given away over this past year. So definitely go check that out. Go check out our Patreon, the whole list of the books we've given out. Go by and check that out. Will Drunk Ralphie do a show on Tom King? An actual person versus a comic book character.
What's that? What's the worst that can happen?
Check us out on Facebook. We have a Blast of Nostalgia Facebook group. It's great to be able to get on there and chit chat, post anything, share your videos that you do, share other comic book related stuff. If you're looking for an issue, if you're looking for something, maybe that's a great place for the community to get involved. Say, hey, I have 2 of those issues. I'd be more than happy to kick you one. It's great to be able to throw that out, or say, hey, I'm trying to get this run done. Anybody help me out? it's a great way for everybody to interact there. We also have Twitter and Instagram. Instagram mainly I just post some of the books and stuff I got. Like I posted a picture of a Crime and Justice, a 10-cent cover book that I just picked up recently. It's kind of a cool old book, and some older another older X-Men book too as well, and some Thor books that I got. Go follow us on Instagram as well as Twitter. All those social medias I try to stay on top of. But you know how it is. When you have a life, you work 40 hours a week, you volunteer stuff outside, you read comics, you do all this stuff. It's hard to stay on top of everything, but we do appreciate everybody that comes and joins us each week when we review these books. It's just a fun way for us to get together and have our own little book club. So whether you blast it, whether you stash it, happy reading, and we'll catch you guys next time. Laters.